I the jerk for asking my grandma not to have my cousin come over? My grandparents, who are 81 years old and 85 years old, my mother, who is 59 years old, and I, who am 33 years old, recently moved into a shared home to help take care of my grandfather. I also have a cousin, who is approximately 40 years old, who recently moved nearby after a stint of being homeless. My grandmother has carried guilt about my cousin for years. His mother died accidentally, and his father does not help him in any way. We had not been in contact with him for years, and he only reached out to us maybe half a year ago. Our lives are not great, but we get by. My grandfather has Alzheimer's, and we all help take care of him, though most of the less savory work falls to my grandmother and sometimes my mother. Most of the housework falls on my mother and me. He wets himself multiple times a day and night, so his bedding and clothes get washed extremely often. A few days ago, when I was doing laundry, I found a dead bedbug in the dryer lint. I almost had a mental breakdown. We just got here, and now we potentially have to go through the mind-crushing task of dealing with bedbugs. I was catatonic until a bedbug-sniffing dog came in to check the place, and we were cleared. We recently had a carpet beetle issue in our old place, which I dealt with mostly on my own. I am not mentally in a space to deal with something much worse. What this has to do with my cousin is this. Only 2 people were here at the house within the few days leading up to the bug being found. My cousin and a friend we paid to watch my grandfather for a few hours. When I told my friend about the bug, he immediately went to check his and his roommate's mattresses for signs. He checked his couch and his clothes, and he did all his laundry just to see if anything would pop up. Nothing at all. When it was mentioned to my cousin, he refused to even check and said he did not have them. He is always itchy and covered in bug bites the few times I have seen him. He claims it is mosquitoes, and maybe it is, but his unwillingness to even check made me severely uncomfortable. Today my grandmother was making plans to have him come over. I told her she cannot have him in the house, and she lost it at me. She screamed about how I am ruining everyone's lives with these bug worries and called me stupid as she ran up the stairs. She said, "My life is reduced to this, and you are accusing him of something." She went to see him anyway and would not change her clothes so I could wash them once she got back. I heard her mocking me too. I understand how maybe I was not being the nicest, but bedbugs are traumatizing, and she is not good at spotting any kind of vermin to even notice any potential signs. Am I the asshole? There are no jerks here, OP. No one is the asshole here. Everyone's under an extreme amount of stress from caretaking, and it makes people a bit irrational sometimes. Your grandmother is losing her husband and also playing nurse, which is devastating. Maybe consider talking with a grief counselor to help take the pressure off and communicate better. Am I the jerk for not picking up my Facebook auction winnings? The other day I, a 22-year-old female, won an auction on Facebook Marketplace. I really like this auction page and I win often. The whole time I have been a member of the page, I have picked up my winnings with no problem. Most times I go to the person's house to pick up. Other times we meet at a central location. Sometimes I use Venmo or a similar app to pay them beforehand and pick it up at their front door. I work afternoons and nights, so a lot of this is done before 2 p.m. Recently I won an auction, and the person who was selling was moving and needed the items gone as soon as possible. We agreed on a time the next day. I messaged her when I was on my way and messaged her again when I arrived. There was no response. To get to the house, it looked like I had to climb a bunch of stairs. It was kind of like a condo complex. I was apprehensive about knocking on the door. I do not really know why. It is just not something that I am used to doing with these transactions. I also try to be wary of knocking on random people's doors in case I had the wrong address. After waiting for 15 minutes, I messaged the person and said I had to go and would message her later. She messaged me a little while after, saying she thought I would knock and asked if I was available to pick up during the week. She also gave me her friend's phone number and said the items were at his house to pick up, which confused me a lot. She works during the day, so she said she was only available after 5 p.m., which I am not, as I stated before. I asked her if she could do a porch pickup and I would pay her beforehand, to which she responded no because she has a landlord and the items were too big. I also asked if I could meet her somewhere during her lunch hour, and she said no, and that the items would not fit in her car. It was looking like we were not going to be able to find a time for me to pick up the items, so I just offered to send her the money and be done with it. She said I should not have bid on the items if I was not going to be flexible. I feel like I was trying to resolve the issue, and she was the one not being flexible. If she had just answered her phone in the first place, this would not have happened. Anyway, she said she was going to report me to the admins, so we will see if they just take her word for it or do some type of investigation. So my question is, am I the asshole for not picking the items up? I feel like this whole thing would have been avoided if she had just answered her phone or told me to ring the bell in the first place. I think you are not in the wrong here. Honestly, something about this seems fishy. You tried to follow through on your arrangement to retrieve the item, and the seller didn't answer the phone. The fact that she didn't see you at the appointed time and didn't check her phone is quite unnerving. Cease contact with this person and consider reporting them instead. Would I be the asshole if I said I wasn't comfortable with the group fancy dress idea? I, a 19-year-old female, am part of a friendly camping group with my family and a few other families. Every year we attend a small local camper van event with a themed costume party. Usually we are voted best dressed as we are a large group who are able to put a lot of time into our costumes. It is also a very jokey event and isn't super serious. The overall theme this year is Kings and Queens. Last time I saw the group, the ideas ranged from Knights of the Round Table to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Without consulting my family, some of the others decided on the theme of drag, which I found out this morning from my mother. I am the only person in the group who is queer, but I am not transgender, nor do I do drag. Most of the group consists of Generation X people. One of the dads, whom I will call Mark, has a habit of saying things that have made me uncomfortable in the past, including low-key homophobic, transphobic, and racist jokes. I suspect that the entire idea is his, as he is best friends with the mother from the family, whom I will call Tina, who organizes the costumes. She tends to be a bit of a pushover as she hates upsetting people. One of the kids, an 18-year-old male, has performed in kinky boots in drag, but is not queer. I haven't had the chance to talk to him about it, which is the only experience that anyone in the group has with drag that I know of. I worry that they will take the theme too far, start doing offensive stuff, and portray really harmful stereotypes. My gut reaction is that the idea could become offensive really quickly with some of the people involved. The whole dress-up event is supposed to be super comedic, and I think that this particular theme isn't suitable as it portrays real experiences in a current community. This is a difficult time for LGBTQ people like myself. At the same time, I'm barely an adult and not super close to anyone in the group like some of the others are. I could cause fallouts or arguments within the group, which could result in my family getting kicked out if Mark gets in a really nasty mood about it. Tina had good intentions but has had trouble standing up to Mark in the past, which has resulted in a family leaving the group before. I raised my concerns with my mother, who is 55 years old, and my sister, who is 16 years old. My sister brushed me aside and said that there was nothing wrong with it and I could just not participate. My mother said that she could suggest other themes to the group, like playing cards or something. I was also told that my father hasn't been informed about the theme, and I know that he would be very uncomfortable with dressing up in drag. Would I be the asshole if I raised the issue further with the rest of the group, which could potentially cause a rift in the group and get my family kicked out? No real names are used in this post. You are not in the wrong here. Drag is for everyone, but having someone who is openly homophobic in charge of it is a bad idea. It's understandable to be suspicious of their intentions, especially if they might make a mockery of the art form. It's important to be clear about the discomfort this causes and not enable bigotry. Bringing your dad into the conversation to fully understand and address the issue is crucial. Am I the jerk for still wanting $300 for babysitting for 30 hours? So a couple of weeks ago, I babysat for a mutual friend. Let's call her Stacy. Stacy needed a babysitter overnight for a concert. I was supposed to babysit for her that Monday and the Friday before the concert. The concert was on Saturday night, but she canceled on me both times. Monday was because her car broke down, and Friday was because her bank account was drained, as she said. I admit this part is on me for not communicating sooner, but I told her on Friday during the day that I had a family get-together that Sunday, and asked what time they'd be getting home because I'd like to be done watching them at 3:00 p.m., which she agreed to. The concert venue was about 3.5 hours away, and they were staying at a hotel with a checkout at 10:30 a.m., so that should have been more than enough time. I got to their house at about 8:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. We had talked about paying me the $300 on Cash App because I didn't have Venmo downloaded, but they didn't have Venmo logged in and asked if they could pay me when they got back. My mistake for agreeing. They loaded up the car to leave and told me the rules and routines. Stacy had 3 children under 5. Everything was going okay with the kids. I had a moment around lunchtime where I got overwhelmed and had to step into the kitchen and talk to my mutual friend, and Stacy only checked in with me maybe 3 times. Jump to Sunday morning. I woke up at around 6:00 a.m. after I barely slept. I didn't hear from Stacy that morning until around 11:00 a.m., saying they woke up late and were leaving soon, which was understandable. It seemed normal until I didn't hear from her until around 12:30 p.m., saying they were eating breakfast and then would be on the road, but they also had to drop a friend off 35 minutes in the opposite direction. So there was another hour added to the drive, meaning they wouldn't be home until 4:30 to 5:00 p.m. when we had agreed on 3:00 p.m. 2 days prior. I texted her as professionally as possible, saying I needed compensation for my extra time or someone needed to be there by 3:30 p.m. Then she snapped at me, calling me crazy and whack for asking for more money. I was only going to ask for like $20 more or to pick me up something to eat on the way home, just something for my time. This was at 1:00 p.m. Now she texted me saying her friend would be there in 30 minutes, which I was confused about because I could have stayed 2 hours longer. I understand not wanting to compensate me because her friend was there, but I still think I should get paid $300 because I watched her kids for over 30 hours already. What do you guys think? Should I make a part 2 explaining what happened after that? You haven't done anything wrong, but this sounds like a painful lesson. For longer babysitting jobs, it's crucial to negotiate the rate, timing, and logistics in advance, and consider taking a deposit or the entire payment up front. Getting paid $300 for over a day's worth of babysitting 3 kids is way below market value, and it's clear Stacy knew she was getting a deal. Letting her know that this is the last time you'll babysit her kids at any rate might help her understand that dumping her kids on you without proper compensation is a way to burn valuable bridges. Am I the jerk for asking my ex-partner not to have their new partner around our child so much? I, 21-year-old female, and my partner, 21-year-old male, broke up earlier this year. We have a 3-year-old daughter together. He and his new partner have been seeing each other for about 4 months. It has come to my attention recently that my daughter is around his new partner at least once or twice a week. He has our daughter 3 days a week. When I found this out, it made me really uncomfortable. I have never met the girl. I do not think it is very good for our daughter to be around her dad's brand new relationship that much, especially considering she is probably still coming to terms with the fact that mom and dad are not getting back together. It feels like he is prioritizing his new relationship over his daughter. There were 2 weeks where he only saw our daughter 1 day a week due to work. I asked him how many of those 2 days he and our daughter spent with his girlfriend. His response was, "I don't remember." The week after those 2 weeks, when he was back with her his usual 3 days, he slept in until 3 o'clock on the first day, leaving our daughter with our usual babysitter until he got up. When he got up, he took our daughter straight to his girlfriend's house. The second day, he also took our daughter to see his girlfriend. The third day is when I had the discussion with him about me not feeling comfortable with our daughter being around her that much. I mentioned that I think he needs to spend more quality time with our daughter. She's probably still struggling with the fact that mom and dad are not together, as it has only been a few months, and seeing him spending all this time with a new girl may not be good for her. They have not been together very long, and it would be very bad for her if they broke up. He was immediately defensive, saying, "What do you think we're doing, just making out in front of her? And we've decided we're going to last." We got into an argument about it. I told him I think our daughter seeing her once bi-weekly would make me feel more comfortable. Every other week I can take her on one of his days, so he can spend some time with his girlfriend. He told me he will see what he can do about it, but if he goes to see her and he has our daughter, then that is just how it will be. We got into a bit of an argument, but I don't think I am being unreasonable. Am I the asshole? You handled things appropriately. Custody agreements often include waiting periods before introducing new partners to children, and sometimes even require a meet and greet between the new partner and the ex. This helps ensure stability and prevents trauma for the kids. Anyone serious about being around permanently should prioritize meeting and getting along with the ex. It's not fair for a young child to be introduced to a series of new relationships, and it's crucial for her to see that mom and dad are reliable and stable first. Am I the jerk for making my partner drive the car they wrecked? My husband, a 24-year-old male, got his license on June 14 and wrecked my car on June 19. It wasn't technically his fault because he hit a deer, but the damage was really bad because he hit it going 45 mph. I say technically because a more experienced driver would have gone slower when they spotted the herd, even though they weren't actively on the street. The damages have come out to $3,600 in parts, $800 in labor, and an unknown amount for paint. The repairs will be done in 2-3 weeks. Insurance didn't cover it because, for whatever reason, the changes didn't take when I added him to my insurance, and he was listed as an excluded driver. When we found out it was going to take this long for my car to be fixed, we bought a new car. I got us a rental while we waited for it to be delivered, spent 6 hours on the phone, filed all the paperwork, and picked it out. The car is in my name, but he co-signed and paid the down payment. This month will be the first month my direct deposit goes to his account, but historically, I pay 100% of the bills, and we use what he makes for fun money and savings. We make the same amount of money. I am on VA disability, and he is still active duty. He used to carpool to work, but our roommate's car broke down 3 weeks ago, so they've been taking the Tegan and I've been stranded. I had to give up everything I normally do during the day, and I haven't seen my friends in weeks. I can't go to the gym, to the bookstore to get coffee, to the store, and I had to quit my ice skating lessons I waited 6 months to take. I'm going a bit crazy being cooped up 24/7. He works so much we always spend weekends together, but his younger brother recently moved in with us, so when we do go out, it's a family event as opposed to a date or something I can do myself. With the Jetta almost repaired, the talk of who is driving which car came up. We had originally decided to buy a truck and have it be my vehicle while he used the Jetta as a daily driver since it has better mileage, and he drives an hour round trip for work. We agreed on this when he got his license before he wrecked my car. He changed his mind to wanting an SUV, so we got the Tegan instead. Now he's saying he wants the new car to be his, and for me to keep driving the Jetta, especially between it getting fixed and it getting painted. I said he's the one who wrecked it, so he's the one that has to drive it, paint or not. He'll only have to drive it without paint for a maximum of 2 weeks. It's a 2020, so it's not old or anything like that. The Tegan is a 2023. The Jetta still has better mileage, but the difference isn't huge like it would have been if it was a truck. I still think the more experienced driver should get the newer car, and I definitely shouldn't have to drive the Jetta before it's painted since I'm not the one that wrecked it. Your actions don't make you a jerk. Your husband is lucky he's getting anything. It makes so much sense for him to drive the Jetta on his commute, but once the romance car is back up and running, it should go back to how it was when you only had one car. Why the hell are you sacrificing everything for a guy who clearly doesn't appreciate or respect your efforts? Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.